go ahead and so the first three signs I thought we would need that were important to know for especially when we're talking about food. Let me pin myself. I always forget this. Is breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so I thought that would be a good like main three that to have. And then I will, like I said, leave it open. You guys can type in the chat what type of foods you would like to specifically see signs for. So we're going to start actually with our lunch. We're going to do breakfast last because that one is a little bit complicated. And then we're going to just go through that. So for lunch, what you're going to do is you're going to have your dominant hand in the shape of an L. And you're going to put your thumb on your chin, lunch. And you tap it, lunch, lunch, lunch. Okay. Then our next one is going to be dinner. So dinner is also going to be the same sign for supper because I know some people use different words. They're going to be the same no matter what. And so you're going to have a D and you're going to have it in that same spot that you put your lunch and it's going to be dinner, dinner. So I think what's always helpful for this is because especially if you do say dinner, is you can always think lunch, dinner, and it's always going to be around your mouth because you're eating. That's the point of it, So lunch, dinner. Now for breakfast. Breakfast, technically the more correct, there's not a really right or wrong. It's just this way is, I guess I'm a little bit more ASL versus a little bit more English. Is they will do, instead of having a sign for breakfast itself, it's going to be morning food. So if you remember when we did our morning way back when, so morning food. Now, you can make it a little bit smaller. So like if you notice, I didn't do like the full blown like arm lift. I just kind of did like a small little like half up morning food. You can do that. There is some people they'll make a B and they'll go breakfast right here. The reason it's not used that often is because that also can be the sign for beer. So that's an easy confusion. Yeah, I don't think you'd be wanting to tell people at 8 o'clock in the morning, I want breakfast, and then thinking you're saying I want a beer. I just think that would be a little bit confusing. So that's why this one you may see, but I do recommend, especially since you guys are learning ASL and starting with it, is to do that morning food at the moment. And then maybe in your location or area, they may show you their local sign that they use for breakfast. So, okay, let's do those three once more. And then I'm going to open up the chat for you guys to type any foods you guys can think of. All right, so we had our lunch, which was lunch, L. There you go. Lunch. Then we had dinner, the D, dinner. Then we had our breakfast food, morning food. Love how I said breakfast food. You call it that, but like breakfast, but it's because we do add the food sign at the end. That's what throws me off. So morning food. Okay. Are there any foods you guys specifically would like to see signs for? Like I said, I know we didn't get through our whole list. I figured instead of me trying to go through all this list of words, if there was one that you would specifically like to see or you're curious about, rather you guys picking that and choosing them. Oh, that's a good one. I don't even think that's actually on our list. Okay.
No, we've never done snack.
No, that's why I was looking. I was like, oh, wait, that is actually a really good one. So for snack, what you're going to do is if you guys remember when we did our frog, when we did like the two fingers flicking out, you're going to do that now, but in the corner of your mouth. Snack, snack, snack. And you kind of have it like slightly in front of your face, like so you don't flick yourself in the cheek. You're like right in front. Snack, snack. And you want to have your hand sideways. So it's like you almost, if you look at it closely, it looks like you're about to flick yourself in the face, but you're not. Snack, snack, snack. Any other foods you guys can think of? It can even be ones that are on the list that you just saw that you'd like to know. Like it's whichever you guys would really want to see. Okay, what we're gonna do, since I haven't seen anyone type wow, great English. Since I haven't seen anyone typed a new word, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna move on to oh wait, no, we didn't do tacos. Okay, perfect. Okay, so Drew, because you did tacos, I have to add hot dogs because they both are very similar. I'm sorry. Those two have to go kind of together. So tacos, what you're gonna do for tacos is you're gonna have your non-dominant hand in kind of this U hand shape, and you're gonna have your dominant hand in the B, and you're gonna put your hand inside like this. Taco, taco, taco. And the visual for this is if you think about it, when we have a taco, we have layers. You know, you have the meat, cheese, lettuce, tomatoes, whichever. So it's the layers on top inside of a taco. Taco. Okay. So now the next one is hot dog. And the reason I said hot dog has to go together is because hot dog is the same thing, but instead of doing the four, you do one. Hot dog. Hot dog. Hot dog. So we have our taco and hot dog. Any others you guys can think of? Okay, perfect. Pasta. I was waiting. I was like, wow, no one's really curious about food right now. Like, maybe it's just me. I'm hungry. Unfortunately, we all decided to wait till later to eat. And I'm like, I'm going to be starving by the time this class is done, guys. So, for pasta, what you're going to do is you're going to have two pinkies and you're going to kind of have them close together and you're going to make circular motions as you go out. Pasta, 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 pasta. This also can be used for spaghetti. This is one of those ones where I do see it, like, it's kind of interesting because, and maybe it's just because of like the location of like at my school, we do have a lot of spaghetti days where we will have actual spaghetti. But like context will really help clarify if you're talking about spaghetti versus actual just pasta. And so even though they're the same sign, that context will kind of put it together. I don't know how to explain it anyway because I can just visualize seeing someone saying, "Oh, we're having for lunch, it's this," and me knowing spaghetti versus if they're saying it's pasta salad, something like that. It's just context clues will help differentiate. Also, if you really want to be clear, like you're not talking about spaghetti or anything like that, finger spelling the word afterwards always can help to clarify things. Okay. Any others? If not, what we'll do is we're going to go back through those four we did. Then we're going to move on to occupation. No, you're totally good, Drew. It's fine. We went really fast last week. So like I understand we did not get through all of our food last week. Okay, dessert. Because that actually is important. Dessert is the best part, in my opinion, but I have a sweet tooth. So for dessert, you're going to have two D's. You're going to lay them sideways and tap. Dessert. Dessert. It's very important you do not do it up like this. This is dating. So dessert is going to be sideways and then dating is standing up. Okay. Just to like FYI, fair warning, because I feel like that could be a very confusing conversation. So dessert. Okay. Let's go through these five. If there are more foods you guys can think of, if we have time at the end, we can always do a few more afterwards. So we had our snack, which was snack, snack, snack. Then tacos, tacos, tacos. Hot dog, which is the one, hot dog. Pasta, pasta, pasta. And then dessert, dessert, dessert. Okay, so let's move on to our occupations. Gotta get my little list here. And what we'll do is we'll go through as many as possible, but if we get to a point about, let's say, not six, whoops, actually, yes, 6:15. Sorry. Over here in Pennsylvania, it is 6:40 right now. So like I'm a little off my hours, but 6:15 you guys' time. If we have still not finished all of them, what we'll do is we'll stop and we'll try to do those phrases and then we'll come back, if that makes sense. Okay. So the first sign we're going to do is the sign for work/job. It's pretty much the same sign. That if you really wanted to make it different, then you would finger spell job. Okay. So the sign for work is going to be your non-dominant hand is going to be in the S fist, having it down. Your dominant hand is also going to be in an S. And you're going to have like the base of your hand tap on the side. Work, 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 work. Now, this can be the sign for, well, this is the sign for work as in like you have a job, this is what you do, or also like you're working. So like if you're doing you have work you got to do, like you're working at home, working things like that. That would also be the sign for just work itself. It may not, to you guys, it may be like, well, that's the same thing. But as a teacher, it's a very different like mindset of homework versus work. Like I work as a teacher, I have homework. Those are two different things. So that's why I'm like, okay. The next one we have is going to be teacher. Sorry, guys, I have to be a little biased here and start off with what my career is. So you're going to notice as we go through more of these signs that when you are doing any kind of job, it's going to be the sign for like the word itself and then adding a person at the end. So the way, and I know I worded that wrong, I do it every time. For example, teacher, we're going to do the sign for teach and we're going to add this sign person afterwards. Okay. And that's what you're seeing is going to be very common is it's going to keep doing that same thing where you're going to have this sign for the actual word itself, adding that person in afterwards. Okay. So it's kind of like you get a double, two signs in one, which is very nice. So the sign for teach is you're going to have these like flat hand puppets. So they're not big and open, they're flat. And you're going to go the side of your head and you're going to go teach. 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 Okay. So the sign for person is going to be person. Person. Yeah. I saw you do it. You mean teacher. Teacher. So you do the flat hand puppets and then you go down on the side. Teacher. Teacher. So whereas teach is like multiple bouncing, teacher is just going to be one like forward and then down. Teacher. Teacher. Okay. The next we have is librarian. So we're going to do the sign for library, which is that L. And you're going to make a circular motion, library. Library person. So library person. Okay. Our next one is going to be artist. So artist is going to do the sign for art first, obviously. So the sign for art is you're going to have your non-dominant hand kind of flat like this. Dominant hand's going to be in a pinky, and you're going to go have your pinky go zigzag across your hand. Art. Art. So for artist, it would be art person. Artist. Okay. We'll do one more and then we'll review. So the next one we have is lawyer. Now, if you remember, I think we did this, we touched this one in families when we're talking about in-laws. So the sign for law is going to be your non-dominant hand is sideways. And so your dominant hand is going to be that L shape. And you're going to go law. So you tap it on the top and tap it on the bottom. And it's like flat. So see, my hand is completely flat on it. Yeah. Law. 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 So for lawyer, it's going to be law person. Law person. Okay. So let's go back. We had work/job. Excuse me. So we had work. 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 And like I said, I think I've mentioned this before in the past. Whenever you're doing signs, if it feels like it looks uncomfortable up here, it's because it's more resting down here, kind of lower at your chest level. But since you guys can't really see this, I'm lifting it up higher so you guys can see it better. So work. Then teacher. 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 Then librarian. Library person. Artist. Art person. And then lawyer. Law person. Law person. Okay, good. Alrighty. So our next one is going to be, man, I wish this list would stop zooming out. I cannot see from that far. Worker. So the sign for worker, this can be any kind of like Well, if you want to just say like, no, sorry, I'm tying them in with business person, and that is totally different. I don't know where I'm going with that connection. But for worker, all it's going to be is that same sign, work person, work person. So worker, work person. Okay. Now, doctor and nurse are very similar, and you actually don't have to add that person in this one. They are just, it's going to be one sign and that's it. So the sign for doctor is you're going to have your non-dominant hand palm up, and you want to make sure your palm is like facing away from you. I'm going to turn my sideways so you can see what I'm doing, but typically you do have it facing this way. Okay. So you're going to have your palm this way. Your dominant hand is going to be kind of bent like this, and you're going to tap on the base of your palm. Doctor, doctor. So it'll be doctor, doctor. Some people will do doctor with that D. Again, that is more English than it is ASL, but it wouldn't necessarily be wrong. Like, it's really not wrong, even though something like ASL, yes, it is wrong, but in that like signing exact English, it wouldn't be wrong. It's very complicated. I'm trying to like be like not saying, oh, this is right, this is wrong, when it's a little bit more, it's not black and white, I guess is a better way to say it. So doctor. Okay. For nurse, it's going to be that same position, but now with two fingers. Nurse, nurse, nurse. I think of this one. I know it's going to sound slightly silly, but a nurse, when they check your pulse, you know, they usually have the two fingers. They check your pulse, that kind of thing. That's what helps me. And also, it looks like the shape of an N. Nurse, you know, nurse. Okay. The next one we have is chef/cook. And so we're going to do the sign for cook and then add person. So we are doing our person again. So the sign for cook is you're going to have your non-dominant palm up. Your dominant hand is going to place flat down first like this on this side, and you're going to flip it over. Cook. Cook. So cook, person. Now, if you were just talking about cooking, like you are cooking something, it would just be this, cook. But if you're talking about being a cook or being a chef, that's when you'd add the person afterwards. Okay. We'll do one more and then we'll review. The next one is engineer. So engineer is one that it's going to be an interesting one. It's actually not the sign for engine itself. It's the sign for measure. Okay, like measure, measurement, that sort of thing. So it's going to be two Y's. You have your thumbs touch, and you're going to have your dominant pinky bend down. Measure. Measure. So for engineer, it's measure person. Measure person. I always thought that was interesting. But I mean, it does make sense because an engineer does, you know, do a lot of measurements. At least most of them, I think, do. I don't want some engineer to come in here and be like, I actually do this and that. I don't need that, guys, please. most engineers do use measurements. Okay. So let's go back. So we had our worker, which was worker. So work person. Then we had our doctor, doctor, doctor. And then nurse, nurse, nurse. Chef. So we had cook, person. Then engineer, engineer, engineer. Okay. So our next one we're going to do is going to be, oh, sorry, I was looking at our list. Surgeon. Okay. So a surgeon is also going to be one where you can add the person, sometimes not. Again, depends on kind of the context. I have seen it kind of used both ways. Usually I see it if you're talking about a surgery happening and then talking about the surgeon adding the person. But if someone is like asking you what you do, then just using the sign for surgeon once without the person is okay. So the sign for surgeon, we're going to start with the sign for surgery, which is going to be your palm, your non-dominant palm sideways. You're going to have your dominant thumb out. and you're going to, I'm going to turn it sideways, but you typically have it this way. You're going to have it come slice down your hand. Surgery, surgery, surgery. So for surgeon, you would do surgery person, surgery person. Okay. So for businessman and businesswoman, I think we did women and women, men and women when we did families. I think so. Do you guys remember that? If not, we're going to do them again. I was going to say we just use those again. So we're going to start with our sign for business, which is going to be your non-dominant hand is going to come across like this. Your dominant hand is going to be a B, and you're going to go back and forth. Business, business. So for businessman, you would go business man. Businesswoman, business woman. Okay? All right, now our next one is going to be scientist. So scientist is going to be 2 A's, and you're going to make the motion of like pouring in beakers. Scientist. So this is science first. Sorry, I realized I did not add. So you start with science, which is this, and then you add person. So scientist, scientist, scientist. Now, what's really cool, you may not think so, but I think it's cool. When you're talking about chemists or biologists, you're going to do very same thing. The only difference is adding a different letter. So instead of having those A's for science, you're going to have C's for chemist. This is also chemistry. Is again that same motion of pouring beakers. So this is chemistry. So a chemist would be chemistry person. Chemistry person. And then biology is those B's. So biology, biology, person. Oh, person. I love how I was like putting hands down like this. No, I meant them sideways. So biology, person. I think that's always just really kind of cool. So, okay. We'll do one more and then we'll review those. Our next one is going to be president. So for president, you're going to start off with 2 C's on the side of your head like this. I'm going to lean back just a little. And you're going to close them into S's. So you're going to have the C that goes to S. President. President. It's almost like, I think of like a bull with the bull horn sticking out. It's like you're making that shape. President. 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 Okay. We're going to do one more because vice president is super easy. Vice president is just VP. VP. I figured why not? Why are we separating those two at the moment if I can just do VP real fast? So, vice president. Okay, let's go back. So we had surgeon. So surgery person. Then businessman. Business man. And then businesswoman. Business woman. Then we had scientist, so science person. Sometimes people do use S's, so I just did want to say that if you do notice this with the S's, that also can mean science. Again, it's one of those more English based sign. So then chemist, which are C's, chemist. Then biologist, biologist. Okay, then we had our president, 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 and our vice president, vice president, vice president. Okay. All right, let's see. All right, our next one we're going to do is therapist. So for therapist, you're going to do the sign for therapy. I know you're probably sitting there going, I already know what the word is, ma'am. Why do you keep saying it? It's because I want to be clear and make sure you know what I'm signing every time. Because like, for example, when we did, there's one we did where we did, oh no, engineer. You know, we didn't do engine, we did measure. So I always just want to say which one we're doing. So the sign for therapy is you're going to have a T and you're going to have your non-dominant hand up and you're going to tap therapy. It's very similar to when we did we do help actually? I don't think we did. Yeah, so if help, remember, was the thumbs up, help. Therapy is gonna be the same thing, but with a T, therapy. So for their therapist, it's gonna be therapy person, therapist. Okay. Then we have psychologist. So the sign for psychology is you're gonna have your non-dominant hand up like this, and you do wanna make sure your thumb sticks up, and you want it to face out. Your dominant hand, it's got the same sort of shape, is gonna come in on the back. Psychology, yeah, psychology. And you just wanna make sure you don't wanna do this. You don't wanna do it inside the hand. You wanna do it on the outside. Psychology. Inside is bother or annoy. That's why. So you don't want to say you're an annoyer. You don't want to say you're an annoying person. You want to say you're a psychologist. I feel like that would make a big difference. So psychologist. Psychologist. Okay. Then we have counselor. So for counselor, you're going to have your non-dominant hand in a fist. And you're going to kind of have, again, that like kind of flat hand puppet. You're going to place it on top and push out. Counsel. This is the sign for counsel. This is the sign for advice, that sort of thing. So counselor. Counselor. Okay. Now we're going to do manager. So the sign for manager is you're going to have the sign for manage is you're going to have two X's. Going to put them sideways. And you're going to go manage. Manage. This is also the sign for control. It's always interesting, like somehow, like the connections of it, because as a manager, you are in control. I always think it's interesting watching all that connections like that. So manage. So manager is manage person. Manager. Okay. Then we have server / waiter. So that one is going to be, so for serve, you're going to have your hands palm up like this. It's almost like I always think about like holding plates. Okay, like kind of that motion. And you're going to go back and forth like we did manage. So this is serve. So server is serve person. Serve person. Okay. Then we have, we're going to have astronaut. Excuse me. I have all these hiccups today. So for astronaut, what you're going to do is you're going to do the sign for rocket and then person. Okay. So the sign for rocket is you're going to have an R. You're going to put it on the side of your non-dominant hand and you're going to shoot up. Rocket. 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 So you'd go rocket person. Rocket person. Now, I am going to add this here because I do think it's always interesting. Some cities will have name signs. And so, for example, Huntsville's name sign is going to be the same shape for rocket, but it's with an H. Huntsville. It's like the H, Huntsville. Huntsville. I just think that's really cool that certain cities that are really well known are going to have more of their like name signs. Birmingham's is Birmingham. It's like a B and a circular motion on the side. Birmingham. Birmingham. I just think it's very cool. Not every single city has their own name sign, but especially those that have a more larger population of deaf people will have name signs for their cities. Okay, let's go back because I know we did a lot. So we had therapist, which was therapy, the T tapping, person, therapist. The best I can help, I give advice for that one to remember is if you remember help. I always think a therapist is trying to help you. So therapy is there to help you. So it's similar as the help sign. That's kind of my best way of remembering therapist. Then psychologist, hand, non-dominant hand out, dominant hand come in and tap. Psychology, person, psychologist. Then we had counselor. So counsel, counsel, counsel. And then counselor. Okay. Then we had manager, the two X's, bent, manage, person, manager. Okay. Then we had server. So server, serve, person, serve, person. Then we had astronaut. So rocket, rocket, person, astronaut. Okay. Then we had our sign for Huntsville, which was Huntsville. Okay. Alrighty, we're going through these really fast. I hope everyone's okay with that. I know the speed's kind of fast, but I'm trying to get through as many of our job career signs as possible. Okay. So the next one we have is police. So the sign for police is going to have a, like, I call it a small c. And I only call it that because it's not a full four fingers, it's just one. And you're going to go across your chest and you're going to go cop or police. It's the same sign. Police. Then we have fireman. So fireman is going to be a B and you're going to tap it flat on your forehead, fireman. And it's like if you think about when they have their helmets on and it kind of goes up really tall, like their sticker logo will be kind of really tall. That's why the shape of it, fireman. Okay. The next one we have is military, like in the army. The sign for military and the sign for army are the same. So there are a few I've seen here and there of different specific areas of the military, but I think I've mentioned this in the last class before. Unfortunately, I don't see them often enough to really know if they are more like a local based signs or if they're actually more commonly used. I just finger spell a lot of them. So the sign for military, I'm going to kind of try to stand up. It is a very close spot right here. Is you're going to have these two thumbs up kind of deal. That's two A's. You're going to have the first one go across your chest. The other one comes, I'm going to stand real quick, comes on your hip. Okay. Military. It's kind of like holding, I guess the visual will be holding a rifle strap when you're walking and like holding the strap for the military. So military, army, the same. They are the same sign. Okay. Let's see how many we've done. We've only done three. Okay, perfect. Sorry, I was trying to like count, make sure I wasn't going too fast. All right, our next ones are now going to be similar to the workspace, but not necessarily actually working jobs. What we'll do after these few we have is I'll leave it open for any jobs you guys can think of, and I will give you signs too. So we have the sign for university. That could be if you're talking about being a college professor, like a college, like, and for a college professor, you do the sign for teacher still. So you would just add college in front of it. University and college are very similar. It is the hand shape that changes, okay? So you're gonna have your non-dominant palm up. We are gonna start with college first. You're gonna kind of have it flat on top like this, and you do have it more sideways. So I know it's hard to tell here, but my hand is a little bit more sideways. You're gonna go across and then up. College, 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 college. If you were talking about university, it's just the same, but with a U. So university, university, university. What is really nice is most colleges do have a name sign or they simplify it to their initials. So like the University of Alabama is UA. UA is just UA. For UAB, it's UAB. Auburn will, and excuse me, my voice cracked right there, is going to be, it's going to be another one that's commonly used. So Auburn is, you're going to start with an A, like kind of like when we do our college or university sign like this, but you start with an A. You're going to slide across and end at a U. A-U. Auburn. Auburn. Montevallo, which I know is not a big one, but that's my college and I have to acknowledge it. It's going to be an M and up. Montevallo. Montevallo. So a lot of them will make that like college sign or they will just do their initials. So that's kind of what's commonly most used for college names. So then after that, we have retired. Okay, so retired has a few different ways I've seen it. There are 2 ways I'm going to show you. The first one is going to be with 2 R's. You are going to have your thumb sticking out with this one, and you're going to go retired. So you go right above your armpits, like we've done for like animals, that kind of thing. So you go retired, retired, retired. Excuse me. I have seen it with L's, retired. Just pointer fingers, kind of deal, retired. Okay, let's do these last 2. Our next one is office / room. They go really well together. So for office and room, they are going to have the same motion, the same sign, but different letters. So I'm going to show you it first, and then I'll try to describe it because it is a little bit of a hard one to visually show through a screen. So it's office, office. So what it is you have 2 O's kind of in front of each other like this, and you turn them sideways. Office, office. And the reason it does that is because you are actually describing the shape of the room. Okay, so office, the sign for room can be, it's the same motion, remember. It's flat hands and sideways, so across, in front of each other, sideways. Room, room. I have seen some people use it with the R's too. Room, room, room. Okay, so let's go back through our signs real quick, the last few ones we did. So we had police, which was police. And then fireman, which was fireman. Then we had military / army, which was military. Remember, there is this hand lower down, kind of right below my ribs. Then we had college, which was college. And then university, university. Then we did retired, which was either retired or retired. And then office, office, office. And then room, 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 or the other way, room, room, room. Okay, so now I'm gonna leave it open for see if you guys have any jobs or career cannot talk tonight, careers that you guys can think of that you'd be curious of. Some I will say, kind of as a fair warning, a lot of times the more specific the more specific you go in a field, the less likely there is a sign. It will end up probably be more likely finger spelling. Like we had a oh, why can't I think of the word for it? And nope. I'm trying to remember, Miss Katie. I'm gonna have to, I'm trying to think of how to even describe it.
Can you sign it?
Well, because he doesn't have a sign. That's the problem. Is we got to finger spell it. You know the one that gives you anesthesiologist. There it
Oh,
is.
yes.
My brain kept wanting to say anthropologist, and I was like, that's not it. That is not it. I was like, trying to say anesthesiologist. We did have an anesthesiologist, and I looked at him and was like, I'm really sorry. Because he's like, anesthesiologist. Like
That's right. I remember because it's so long.
it is.
I'd be like, I don't remember where I was. I'm a doctor.
Right? Like that's like I typically say if you really don't have to fingerspell all of it, and if it's not like a need, like I really need you to know, the basic of like, for example, being a different type of doctor is you can just say doctor, doctor. I added the person there, I don't know why, but doctor is always a safe one for that. But are there any jobs you guys can think of? Oh, that's a good, oh, those are 2 good ones. Okay. Go ahead and keep typing if anyone else has any, and then I will get to those as well. So for speech therapists, you are going to still do the same sign for that therapy, but you're now going to add the sign for speech. So the sign for speech is you're going to have a V, going to bend it in 2, and you're going to turn it in front of your face and your mouth, and you're going to go in circle motion. This is speech, speech. Now, the difference with this one, though, I would say is this is not really talking about someone giving a speech. This is more talking about the actual like talking like speech kind of motion of it's kind of hard to describe. I'm trying to think of how best way to describe it. If someone was giving a speech, you would do more speaker, presenter, that sort of thing. Um, Not necessarily, I've not seen this one used more for like talking and having a speech, but like language, if you focus with language and work with that, it's speech therapist. Speech. Ooh, speech therapist. I knew that was going to get me. Now, for athlete. Athlete is you do an A and you shake it back and forth. Athlete, athlete, athlete. I would recommend adding the sport specifically if you can. And we did sports a while back. Now, if you do a very specific niche sport, I would still fingerspell it and then add that A afterwards so they know that you're talking about a specific type of athlete. That's just my recommendation. Any other jobs you guys can think of? Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to move on to our little phrases at the end. That way you can have some new questions and sentences. Okay, so if you were to ask someone what they did for a living, so what do? You wouldn't really want to do, I know we did this one last week. What do? What do? Um, so I'm gonna say I really would recommend not doing that to ask for what are you do like what do you do as a career? Because that one is the more what are you doing? It is not base, it's not gonna it could easily get confusing. So if you're trying to ask what do you do for a living, like what is your career, you would do your work what? You can do your work what do if you wanted to, but again, like I said, I would probably be like your work what? Like what do you do? That's kind of how I would ask, is your work what? Um, and then the next one is what are you doing, which I just showed. What are you doing? What are you doing? Okay, so if you were to ask what that person's job title was, so for example, if they were a senior, oh gosh, senior office supplies manager, okay, something like that. That's a good one. And you were trying to ask their title, which I know that is a very, very complicated. I'm hoping no one gets that too complicated for you guys at the moment. At the moment, but you would do your work title, like title. So title is two. It's those bent X's again, and you shake it here. Title. So your work title what? Your work title what? This is also air quotes. Interestingly enough, I know this is not really related with this, but I'm going to add it here because I do think it's kind of an interesting fact. If you were talking about a book or a movie title, like you were talking about, oh, my favorite book, and you're going, which most of the time you do actually have to fingerspell. When you're talking about titles of movies or books, you do fingerspell them, even if they have their own signs. That is just kind of a rule of thumb. Some people will do the signs for them, but like you really do want to make sure you fingerspell. So I'm going to do one, for example, The Hobbit. I don't know why that's in my mind right now. So I'd be like, my favorite, it's not my favorite book. I love it. I do enjoy it, but it's not my favorite. I could not pick a favorite. I was like, I do not want to have this controversy right now. So, but I'd be like favorite, like my favorite book title. And then I would do The Hobbit. I don't want to fingerspell that fast, but that way, and I know I'm quoting the title of it. You always add that quote motion in front of any book or movie title. So let's come back to here. So our next one we had is help. I need help. Do you need help? I think we've done this before, but we are going to go through it again just because I do think these are kind of important ones, especially for beginners. So we have our help is help. You can just do to like there's a couple different ways you can ask a person if they need help or if you can help them. One is you could just do the simple make eye contact with them and go help, like help. Um, you can do that, that just basic and simplify way. The other way you can do it is me help you, which it's not perfect ASL, but that can get across if you're worried about the third one, which is a little bit more that ASL. Which remember I said you would start close to you saying me, and you bring it towards them. Help you, help, help. Um, if you ever did get kind of worried about remembering how to make that motion, you can do, like I said, the me help you kind of thing. That kind of is a safe bet as well. So help, help. Okay. So for I am lost, that is kind of an interesting one because I'm trying to think of how I would say where it is, and I really wouldn't say I am lost. I would say, um, because the sign for lost that I'm thinking of is lost, lost, and that is like losing an item. Not necessarily being lost itself. I have seen that be used before for being lost, but I would more so for saying like lost, I'd either say I am confused or me where I don't know. Like I would almost have it like that kind of thing. I know those are kind of not, it's still a saying, the way of saying I'm lost. I don't know why my brain is like thinking it would be those ways. Um, or not that, but why I would choose to use those ways. But those are the ways I would feel like I'd get my point across better. Um, so I would do the me where, I don't know, like where am I? That kind of motion of the where am I would help to show that you're lost. Because again, like I said, lost, lost. You're not necessarily dropping something and losing something. You yourself are lost. Okay. The next one, I am working. So you can do me working, like me, point and work. If you were trying to say you're busy, like how sometimes we'll say I'm working, like as a way of saying I'm busy. Um, busy is the same, very similar sign to business. So we have our business like this. Busy is busy. You just keep it stationary, but moving it back and forth. Busy. Excuse me. So you could say me busy. Like, sorry, busy. Can't talk right now. Busy. Okay. Oh, also with that one, I wanted to add, you can actually ask someone if they are busy that way too. Busy? Busy, like you look at them and ask them busy. So again, eyebrows are going to help you right there because there's a big difference between saying you're busy versus asking, are you busy? So you want to keep your eyebrows up for that yes, no, busy. Are you busy? And you can always, if you feel like it's not, they're not fully understanding, are you busy? You can point and say you busy. Okay. Alrighty, let's see. Let's go back. I'm trying to think. Are there any phrases that you guys would like to go over? I feel like a lot of them are words we have used before already, just kind of rearranging the sentence. But are there any phrases or sentences you guys can think of, or would like to be repeated, like for me to repeat, anything like that? Okay, so that is a good one. Running late. I promise I'm going to answer, but I am going to jump on this real quick. I love to talk about this because I do think this is a very interesting concept that as English first language English speakers, which I know I'm assuming, but almost all of us are all English speak. Our first language is English. Gosh, I cannot talk. Um, is the fact of the word run. We don't realize it, but we use the term run for so many different ways than just the singular we are running motion. And so what I think is a very interesting one is this is a word that run has about at least 8+ different signs for it. And the reason for that is because it determines on the way you're actually using the sign for run. So like for example, we have running late. We have, oh, I'm going out for a run. I'm running for office. There's a run in my, I know we don't use this one as often, but a run in my stocking. What's the other? I'm running to the office or anything like that. There's so many different ways we use the word run. And so I always think it's kind of interesting. And I always like to encourage, if you guys think about it, like any type of word we use in the English or when we talk in English, that we use a lot for other things. It's very important you think about that because the importance of using a certain, like the sign is going to be, trying not to go too deep and just like overwhelm you guys, but basically you need to think about the context of what the word you're using is. So for example, like the sign for run itself, like I'm running, is this. It's like two L's. You have your dominant hook over your dominant non-dominant thumb, and you make that motion, run. So for running late, unless you are actually like sprinting to be late, like you are running away, that kind of motion to be late, you would not do running and then the sign for late. You would just say running. Like this is like rushing and it's pat. So your non-dominant sideways. Dominant hand comes up and brushes. Running. Or rushing. And then you would do late. Late or late. Sorry. You can't really see, but it's late. Like you have your hand go down late. You can do late with an L, late, late. So running late, running late. Okay. So, but yeah, I just thought I would add that here. I personally really enjoy it. I know not everyone else is going to enjoy things like that, but I love to sit there and think about the word, like the words we use and be like, is that one that has multiple meanings to it? Because that could really make a difference when talking to someone. Um, but most of the time, if you do make that error, like that mistake, if you did do, for example, running late, um, most I like to say most will not judge you. They may tease you a bit, especially if you guys are more like friends and kind of thing. Like for example, I can say this example and I'm still mad that I did this. So a few weeks ago, I went to go visit some of my friends and we went to a water park. And on the way back, we were chatting in the car and talking. And I was talking about how I needed to take my car through a car wash. And like, I mean, it's like nighttime, like it's like 8, 9 o'clock at night. I'm exhausted. We spent all day at the water park and we're just chatting away. And it's, I mean, we're just full blown signing. And I said, wash as like a washer machine, wash my car. And my friend literally just busted out laughing because that's not, you don't put your car in a washer machine. If you're talking about wash, like you're not going to do washer machine. You're going to do like washing my car, like washing the car. And she teased me so much about that because I said washer machine. I said washer machine car. Like I'm gonna put my car in the washing machine. And she even asked me, she goes, "You gonna put your car in the washing machine? Like the washing machine fits with your car." And I was like, "Stop, you know what I meant." So it happens to the best of us. I always will be like, because I always put my excuses. English is my first language. Okay, sometimes this brain short circuits and literally picks the wrong sign. I know the correct sign. I just chose the wrong one at that time. So it happens to the best of us. I always just like to say, take it in pride, like or stride, not pride. Well, take it, be prideful about it, and make taking it in stride. Don't be embarrassed. Mistakes are gonna happen, things like that. It's totally fine. And you can always ask them, "Can you help me clarify which one I want? You know, what is it that I really like?" Be like, the right, well, this is a good one to show is right. Like like two pointer fingers, you put it on top of right. Kind of similar to sometimes people will have the thumb up right. It's similar to our sister, if you remember.
Wait, you mean right is incorrect?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's a good. See, this is one where English also does not help us for right, as in right as like that is correct versus right, right. Because writing is with a pencil, like writing across a
No, I
grid.
meant the direction, right or left.
Okay, I was gonna. I was like, I knew I was forgetting one. So if you're talking about right, as in like the actual direction, you have right on your right side. I know this may not be your right side, but it's your right, my right hand, right. Right. So there's right as in correct, right as a right as you're writing a book, and then right as in a direction. So that's a prime example. I know all three of those are pretty much well, right and right are the same spelling. This one's different. But you can see where there's a difference because each of them has a different meaning. But yeah, okay. I'm gonna stop my little speech on this. Again, I love this stuff. I could talk all the time about it. Are there any other signs you guys can think of that you're curious of? Need me to repeat? Anything like that? I'm gonna make this more broad. It does not have to be directly related to jobs or occupation, since we do have like 4 minutes left. Any you guys can think of? Overslept. So for that one, you're gonna do sleep late. Um, oh, that's a good one. Okay. So I would be like sleep. Well, I'm having to think about it because there is a difference between sleeping in late, like I was late, like I went to bed late. Um, but I think you would still do the same signing of it because like context would help it. So I would be like late, slept late, like that's overslept. But you could also do, I could see this as well, over. So over is on dominant sideways, dominant hands, again, that kind of B, over, overslept, overslept. Um, but again, you're not going over anything. That's where like this like literal concept can get a little conflicting. So complicated, not conflicting, goodness, complicated. So overslept, you could do, but I would recommend like sleep late. Like I slept in late. I love you. Okay. So there are two ways to do this. One of them is more, which we've all seen. It is more of the common one I would do for like generalized, like just anybody, like love you, like not as a romantic, like significant spouse sort of thing. And that is the I love you sign. And the reason it's the I love you sign, which I think is really cool, is this is the I. And if you look here, here's the L shape and then the Y. So I love you. Ah, you did do one. Okay, I saw that. So this is I really love you. Yeah, I know. This one is also a really cool one. It's I, the really L, and then the Y. I really love you. Now, if you are going to be talking to a significant other, or in someone who you really like romantically love, this is the way I would do it. You can still always do like this, love you. But that is also again, this one is a more generalized term used. Like I say this to my kids, like love you guys, you know, they say it to me, that sort of thing. And you would go me, like pointing to me, and then love. So love is going to be two S's, and you come across love, love you. So me, love you. That would be more, at least for me, that is more of a, if I say I love you, that is a more serious term. That is not just me saying, oh, I love you guys, like that sort of thing. So, yeah. Any other signs, words you guys can think of? Anything for our last little bit? Any questions you guys have too? That can, it doesn't have to be just like a sign. If you're curious about anything, um, yeah. Trying to see if there's anything on the list that we didn't explain. No, I think we got everything. Okay. If not, that's totally fine. If you, oh,
The,
yes.
the videos are always on our YouTube channel. And in fact, if you wanted to, you could go back and watch from the beginning, like 3 years ago or so. You could watch all of them. Um, that would be something. But usually, I just send y'all the link to our class, but all of the ASL classes are on our YouTube channel. And you can get to that if you go to o'neilllibrary.org, and at the top of the page, there's an adult. Um, you'll see adult, teen, children's. When you hover over adult, you should see an ASL page. And when you go to that, the link's at the bottom of the page. But also, like I can't imagine why we would take them down unless something happens to YouTube. So yeah, they'll always be there. And that reminds me too, it looks like Drew had to leave, but like Drew has taken the class several times. We've had a couple of people take the class repeated times. We're happy to have you back, especially since you've taken the class once. So if you want a refresher, you want to drop back in, just send me an email and I'll send you the link. You can join for a whole class. Or if you want to, like, hey, I work in a bank, I want to go over numbers again or something, I'm happy to like send you a link for the date of the class that you're interested in. And of course, if you have any questions or anything like that, you're welcome to email me and I can send it on to Gillian and get an answer for you. So, yeah, but it's
Yes.
been a great class, and stay in touch, and we'd love to see you again.
Yes, definitely. And hopefully next time I will not be having to be in a hotel room. My lighting and weird changing of scenery will be,
The summer sessions are definitely different.
oh my gosh, yes. They're always like never know what's gonna happen, I feel like. Yeah. But yes, I've enjoyed
Thank
having you guys so
you.
much.
Thank
So
you so much, y'all.
hope you guys have a wonderful rest of y'all's week and summer. For those of you who are going back to school soon or not, or have family members who are, I hope everyone has a very good school year. So,
Awesome.
bye guys.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.